Hi everyone, I am Sam. Today, we are going to talk about poison pill. A poison pill, in simple terms, is a defensive strategy used by a company's board of directors to deter or discourage hostile takeovers. It typically involves issuing new shares or offering current shareholders special rights that become active if a potential acquirer buys a large chunk of the company's stock. This makes the takeover more costly or dilutive to the bidder, effectively poisoning. Over time, the practice has evolved, but the basic goal remains: protect a company from an unwanted buyout. Now, let's embark on a journey through time to understand how this concept came to be and why it still matters. While the poison pill might sound dramatic, like something out of a medieval tale, it's actually a modern invention, born in the high-stakes world of corporate mergers and acquisitions, M&A. Yet at its heart, it represents something quite familiar: a desire to maintain control in uncertain, competitive situations. The notion of a poison pill first gained notoriety in the early 1980s. A corporate attorney named Martin Lipton, working in New York, was alarmed by the wave of aggressive takeovers sweeping through the business landscape. Companies were being gobbled up left and right by bigger fish that simply bought enough shares to gain control. Lipton and others in the field wanted to develop a legal force field, so to speak, that would give boards of directors the power to fight back. Lipton proposed a new tactic. If a buyer acquired a certain percentage of a company's stock without board approval, existing shareholders would suddenly receive the right to buy additional shares at a discount, flooding the market with cheaper shares. This tactic would dilute the controlling stake of the would-be acquirer. Imagine them trying to pick up all the marbles, only to find that the playground is suddenly flooded with many more marbles than before. In those early years, businesses viewed the poison pill as a radical and somewhat controversial idea. Some analysts argued that it gave too much power to corporate boards, effectively blocking any chance for shareholders to benefit from a lucrative buyout offer. Others argued it was necessary to protect the long-term vision of a company from short-term raiders, buyers whose main goal might be to strip valuable assets and leave the hollow shell behind. As the 1980s wore on, courts in the United States debated the legality of this new strategy. Different states had different rules, and some legal battles erupted between boards that wanted to implement poison pills and activist shareholders who felt these measures unfairly restricted their rights. Over time, however, the concept began to mature and establish itself more firmly. By the 1990s, poison pills were widely recognized as a legitimate line of defense for companies, although some still questioned whether they truly served shareholders' best interests. Like many groundbreaking ideas in science, law, or technology, the poison pill's path was hardly straightforward. Each new legal case or corporate acquisition that involved a poison pill contributed an extra layer of nuance to how courts and businesses interpreted and deployed the tactic. Think of it like building a piece of furniture over the years. Each case hammered in another nail, or replaced a shaky leg, or added a coat of protective polish until you had something sturdy, albeit with a few nicks and scratches from the process. Relating poison pills to everyday life can be fun. Imagine a neighborhood bake sale. A wealthy customer strolls in and announces they'll buy every cookie, cupcake, and brownie, and then raise prices for anyone else in town who wants a sweet treat. The organizers, fearing one buyer will seize control of the bake sale, decide on a plan. If any one person tries to buy more than half the cookies, they'll immediately open fresh boxes from the back at a discount for everyone else. Suddenly, that buyer's control crumbles because there are far too many cookies in circulation to corner the market. This is essentially the spirit of how a poison pill works in corporate finance. As the poison pill became standard equipment in many corporations' defensive arsenal, a few big questions loomed. One was the balance of power between boards and shareholders. The measure certainly gives boards an outsized role in shaping how buyouts proceed, which has sparked ongoing debates. Are boards truly acting in the shareholders' best interest when they deploy a poison pill, or are they just protecting their own positions and paychecks? Another question revolved around the dynamic nature of business itself. Corporate life moves fast. Sectors rise and fall, tech innovations come in waves, and what seemed like an unassailable giant yesterday might be tomorrow's relic. In light of such rapid evolution, how flexible should poison pills be? Some companies adopted chewable pills, which could be more easily revoked under certain conditions. Others added triggers that only kicked in if a buyer reached, say, 10% ownership, far lower than earlier versions. Critics wondered if this was overkill, potentially stifling beneficial deals and innovation. Supporters argued it was critical to keep pace with cunning takeover artists who continually discovered new strategies. Fast forward to 2022, when billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk set his sights on Twitter. At that point, Twitter wasn't just any social media platform. It was a global hub of conversation, a place where breaking news and memes mingled in real time. Musk, with his ambitious flair, decided to buy a substantial stake in Twitter's stock. Before long, rumors spread that he was eyeing a full acquisition. Twitter's board members, wary of being overtaken by a single albeit very influential, personality, employed a poison pill strategy. This modern-day example of the technique saw Twitter's leadership effectively saying, if you cross the ownership threshold we consider too high, we'll issue more shares or give existing shareholders special purchase rights, making your potential takeover far more complicated. This move sparked a media frenzy. On one hand, supporters of the poison pill argued that Twitter's board was simply defending the platform's independence, much like those 1980s boards who feared the dismantling of their companies. On the other hand, critics felt that if Musk was willing to pay a premium for Twitter stock, shareholders should be allowed to decide for themselves whether to accept that deal. Some Twitter users worried about the implications of a single billionaire owning such an influential communication tool. Others were excited about Musk's pledge to expand free speech on the platform. For a while, it was the talk of boardrooms everywhere, shining a spotlight on how the poison pill remains a pivotal, if sometimes polarizing, tactic even decades after it first hit the scene. Interestingly, the Musk Twitter scenario also highlights a broader theme in the conversation around poison pills: the human side of business. We often focus on cold, analytical aspects, legal arguments, financial spreadsheets, stock charts, but behind every corporate action lie people, each with their own vision, fears, and ambitions. Twitter's board members are real individuals tasked with safeguarding what they see as the company's mission. Musk is also a human being, albeit an extraordinary one with billions of dollars and a flair for moonshots. As they negotiated, argued, and countered each other's moves, they added a fresh chapter to the ongoing story of how companies defend or reinvent themselves in the face of potential upheaval. Despite decades of use, poison pills still spark controversy, and no one is entirely certain how they'll evolve next. Some experts believe that as business climates change, especially in the tech sector, where intangible assets and intellectual property matter more than, say, factories or real estate, the typical poison pill might need to change too. Others argue that the fundamental principle remains solid. By creating a scenario where an unwelcome bidder is penalized for overreaching, companies can preserve their strategic direction. But just like in any field where law, economics, and human behavior intersect, the story is never finished. There's always another twist, another legal challenge, another innovative new tactic that might arise from the next corporate confrontation. Looking back, one might see parallels between how the poison pill was conceived and how some of humanity's great scientific or technological leaps took place. It's a mixture of necessity and creativity. In the same way that people in ancient times found ways to protect their homes from invaders, or how scientists discovered vaccines to ward off viruses, the corporate world developed poison pills to guard against hostile takeovers. Each realm, medicine, architecture, finance, has its own language and methods, but the core motivations are often surprisingly similar: ensure survival, maintain autonomy, and allow growth on one's own terms. Yet, there's a flip side. Critics remain convinced that poison pills can prevent healthy competition or block a perfectly reasonable merger that might reward investors. In an age when the global economy is becoming more interconnected and large companies wield enormous influence, determining exactly when and how to deploy a poison pill is an ongoing challenge. Some boards adopt them preemptively, like keeping a fire extinguisher under the kitchen sink, even if no flames are in sight. Others only pull them out when the alarms are blaring, aware that a takeover attempt is imminent. The question of whether they work best as a preventive measure or a last-minute defense is another debate that animates corporate strategists and legal scholars alike. In the end, the poison pill is more than a business tactic. It's a window into how power structures operate in corporate life. It forces us to consider who truly controls a company: the board of directors, the shareholders, the employees and communities that rely on its services or products. When Elon Musk challenged Twitter, we saw exactly how complex that question can become, as it touched on free speech, public discourse, and the role of social media in modern society. The poison pill was simply the mechanism that lit the fuse of broader discussions about governance, autonomy, and responsibility. If there's one takeaway, it's that the poison pill won't be disappearing anytime soon. As long as ambitious buyers roam the corporate jungle and boards strive to defend their territory, the concept will remain relevant. And while it may be rooted in legal and financial complexities, at its heart, the poison pill is about something very human: the eternal dance between freedom and control, between ambition and caution. Much like that playground scenario with the marbles, it reminds us that sometimes when someone tries to grab too much, the group can and will push back. The next time you hear about a board of directors adopting a poison pill, remember there's a rich tapestry behind that term, filled with courtroom dramas, heated debates, and very real human dreams. It's not just about stocks and shares. It's about the lengths people go to shape their future and protect what they've built. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next episode.